Welcome Wargamers, Doug here from 2 Plus Tough, and this is the second of our 3 milestone series for the Conquest First Blood Painting League. Conquest being a miniatures game by Bellum Miniatures, or Bellum Games rather, and then First Blood being their sort of skirmish variant. And the first section of our challenge was painting 0 to 400 points, which is half an army basically for First Blood. And then the second milestone, which we're at right now, just wrapping up, is going from 400 to 800, which is a full list. Now, for those of you who have been following along, you know that I'm running a little bit late when it comes to milestone 2. I do apologize. I just got bogged down on other projects, so the building is what really took the most amount of time because I had a lot of things in motion. But we got that done. What I'm going to be doing in this video is going over a few things, showing off the awesome paint jobs that our community is doing. If you would like to be a part of that, I'll give instructions later on how to do so. And then it's not too late to join in and get your videos or your miniatures on a video. So we're going to go through the community stuff. I have another battle report with my buddy Rob and his Spire, or he and his wife Spire, that I'm going to be doing, and then we'll roll into sort of my plans going to the third and final milestone of the Conquest League, sort of taking your full army list and then adding 400 points of just stuff. Options to kind of give you some wiggle room to try new things, explore new units. I'll say right up here at the top, if you are looking to join in, it is not too late whatsoever. Grab some models and some paints and come along on a journey with me as we get enough models to start playing some fun games. If you wouldn't mind, in the description below, I have a coupon code for you for Bellum Miniatures to save 10% on all your purchases. And every time that link is used, it goes directly to supporting me as a content creator. It's massive, and I would really thank you to use it. With that out of the way, let's go and dive into everyone's community paint jobs and see what kind of progress we've all made. We're going to kick this off over at the 2 Plus Tough Discord, which is in the description down below. And as you can see, we have some Nords. This is from user Expectair. Went over and introduced his army, the first part of it last time, and here we're just seeing some more pictures. Let's see, he's added some, oh, he finished off the Reavers, I think added a little bit more. I see Huskarls or Jarls, or I can't remember what they're called. I'm terrible at the names for the Nord units. Back here, the heavier warriors. But we also see some Urger, or Ogres, whatever the Nord version is. If you are looking for trolls and ogres, that's in the Nord section. There was actually a few people on a recent live stream that were like, yeah, man, I'm really wishing that they would come out with trolls and ogres. Like, no, they're in the game. They're just kind of not in a range you'd think of. Here's a fantastic face-on picture. I love it. They did a great job on the shields. They look very vibrant. And I like the green and gold scheme. Very, like, I don't know. They just look very earthy, very, I guess Celtic is kind of the thing that comes to my mind. But yeah. Oh, man. Some of these heads are some of my favorite miniature sculpts in ever. Like this guy in the dead center in the back is the leader, the Jarl. But I love like Eye Patch guy. This guy's beard is awesome. Like there's a similar head in the Dweghome kit that I've been building. He has a similar like where the front beard kind of stops short and the sides come down longer. Oh, it's so cool looking. So wonderful job, Expectair. I see someone respond here, legendary. Yes, absolutely. And I gotta say, if I was across the table from this, just in the games that I have played with my 800 points of 100 kingdoms, I gotta say, man, I'd be scared. I'd be really scared because I know that my little men-at-arms would evaporate. My little 4-man units would just evaporate under all of this. But I do think my knights could pose a very nasty question. Next up, we have Aaron, who has been a contributor since this whole thing began. And I'm gonna open the supersized version of this picture here. Oh, maybe we can zoom out just a smidge. Let's see. Oh yeah, she's a beaut. This looks terrific. Oh my goodness. Okay, so this is obviously Old Dominion. If you are just joining us and don't know anything about Conquest, this is sort of their undead faction. They just recently released it, and it is a super creepy, I don't know, somewhere between Dark Souls and Rome Total War, I guess. There's just some incredible miniatures here. You did a wonderful job on the weathering on all the shields. I can see the blue kind of tint and hue from the patina there. Your collection of heroes down here is wonderful. I mean, and honestly, what I like about some of these sculpts is they're not all so over the top that, I guess what I'm getting at is you can easily use some of them as like background heroes or part of a retinue, and it won't make them seem like you can't tell who the leader is. Like Ziliarch right here, this is your boss hog. at least thematically, right? You can obviously have a bunch of different generals, but I feel like if you just had all 4 of these characters on a stand and were like pointed to any one of them, barring maybe this guy in the far right, and be like, that's my general, and everybody else is a super cool retinue character, I just think they all work. They look great together. I see my favorite unit in so far in the game as far as a brute type goes, the bone golems here. They're sentient, basically tombs that are just kind of reanimated with death magic, and so they just kind of like hustle around. They're almost like dreadnoughts is probably the closest thing in 40k that, or other properties that they would resemble. You did an excellent job. I see you have the Moroi and I can't remember. I never always forget the second other one. The Stigioi. I don't know. I blame Parabellum on making terrible to pronounce names. As you can see, your more mage-focused characters up here in the bottom right. Man, this is just... Aaron, you just knocked it out of the park. This is absolutely terrific. One thing that you did that I never seem to get around to is you made matching bases for the rank and flank. So obviously this army, you know, it's a first blood challenge, which doesn't use the rank and flank, but obviously all these models are meant to be interchangeable, and it's fantastic that you did that. I never just get into basing enough to like warrant doing that, but I definitely applaud you for it. Beyond that, that's the main picture, and it had great, you know, resolution, so I was able to zoom in quite a bit. Beyond that, we just have some close-ups here of some of the notable characters, and I really do like them. I believe, someone correct me if I'm wrong, is this character on the right here, is that like an officer that's added to a specific regiment? I know these two are more like classic heroes, but oh man, they just look awesome. Did a wonderful job here on his mask and helm, and everybody just pops. Yeah. You did a great job, Aaron. Now, popping over here to Twitter, which is also where I've been checking for that hashtag. Of course, we see Aaron here, but we'll scroll down. We also have Domat, and let's see here. Painting up some Spire. Here are is it the Longbowmen? Their equivalent, where they basically make their creatures have 3 arms to be more efficient archers. That's the only reason they exist. They exist to shoot arrows. Here we have some other awesome looking monsters. Oh, that's a brute drone. Okay. And just a little spearman guy next to it. I like the colors you chose. They almost have a coral, I don't know. It looks very organic, and I like that. That is a fantastic color palette. And I like how, so these would be drones, so they would be the more artificial, whereas a clone would have a different kind of skin structure and tone, so I like how he's different. I think you did absolutely fantastic. I thought I saw, yeah, here's another close-up of the brute itself, looking real cool. I'm curious if that's blood for the blood god. It looks like it might be, which is cool. I like the idea of having like pheromone and sweat glands and that kind of stuff, but like, I don't know, maybe blood gets out of him. There's a whole bunch of cool narrative ideas there. He looks fantastic, and I'll be honest, the more human colored stuff, where it kind of dips into that humanoid uncanny valley, as opposed to, I think Parabellum's standard scheme is like a very, very stark white, at least on some of their units. I don't know. I think you did great. This guy looks terrifying and beefy. And next we have Cam, or Admiral Akbar. I love it. Doing some 100 Kingdoms. We saw your first set of 100 Kingdoms. They had the wonderful purple shields. I remember this, and the awesome banners. Looks like you added a knight. I can't recall. I think scroll down here, we'll see your previous. Yes, this is what we looked at, the Lord with the boar. Okay, so it's just the 2 units of men-at-arms. So what you added was crossbowmen, a knight, maybe reinforce something here. Right on. These guys are looking terrific. I'm curious, just because the camera gets a little bit fuzzy towards the mid here, is this metallic, or is this like a because it almost looks like a zenithal with contrast. I was hoping to have more done. No, this is terrific. Oh, a new puppy interrupted plans. That's the best kind of interruption. She got a new puppy. I don't know. That was an assumption. I apologize. The knight is looking pretty fine. I like it. You could get for some reason I couldn't get my guys' shields to line up right. We'll go into mine next, but you did a great job of getting it all set there. Fantastic job, Cam. These look absolutely terrific, and they're a wonderful addition. Here's just a recap of the previous ones, which I think just by virtue of the lighting kind of caught them a little bit better, but they all seem to go together really, really well, and I think they're going to be an awesome force for you. And so I will show off my hobby progress now after we gotten the other entries that I was able to find. If I missed yours, please let me know in the comments below, or just repost it in my Discord, and I will see it there. So moving on, I did 2 knights, 5 hunter cadre, and a seasoned warrior, seasoned veteran, something like that, for an officer upgrade. So here's one of my knights. You can see I didn't do the checkered quite as well as I used to be able to do, but that's okay. I think he looks great. He has a 3-foot fabulous kind of quality to him where it actually looks really good on the table. Here we have similar scheme, but in blue and white. Not much to say about these. They're not my favorite models, really, but I do think I could have done better with the checkers. I might go back and play around with it. But like I said, honestly, from 3 feet away, when you like are standing there playing the table, they look great. It's just when you get this close that things kind of look meh. And here they are next to each other. They do look good. The list I built has them being separately, but they're actually cheaper if you increase the size of a unit. So 1 unit of 2 knights is cheaper than 2 individual household knights. I might play around with that a little bit, but I do generally like them to be able to run solo. Here are my hunter cadre. I accidentally built 6, but who's complaining, because these guys are so stinking cool. I'll talk about how they do on the tabletop here in a minute when we get to the games played, but they were so much stinking fun to paint. To put it really simply, all I did was the vast bulk of them with that black is Black Gray by Vallejo. I can get it at a hobby store here locally. And then the nice thing about that is because it's just a little bit brighter than true black. So when you put a wash on like Null Oil, it goes right into the cracks and you can actually see shadow still, which is real nice. And then just built up a little bit of lighter gray from there. They look fantastic on the table. Real menacing unit. Please ignore the basing just because, like I said in my last video, I'm going to do all the basing with everything all at once so that it all looks cohesive. But they've been an absolute joy to paint, and I really do love the head options. I cannot stress enough, this is it's a hunter cadre and I think the longbowman kit, and the various like heads. If you are playing Hunter Kingdoms, even if you don't want these units, which sounds ridiculous, like just buy the units, they're awesome. But even if you wanted like knights or something like that, the wonderful detail of all the different heads with various face coverings, injuries, eye patches, tricorn hats, I don't know, all kinds of cool things. Cannot recommend this kit enough. And lastly, he's looking a little rough because I didn't have a chance to go back in there and do the last bits of detail, but I'm using this model. I'm not really sure what's going on here up by his feather. I must have gotten a piece of hair on him, but he is my seasoned veteran. He is a officer upgrade for the men-at-arms specifically is what I use him for. And 100 Kingdoms, their army rules is that you get a free one. You get a free officer. And so I didn't have any officer-like models, and I went to my local store. We have one in like a 45-minute radius who sells Conquest stuff, and so I rolled in there and I was like, I just need to grab some hero. Right, I get a free officer upgrade. I'm leaving stuff on the opportunity on the table. Let's get this guy. Well, all they had was the Drill Master, which is a totally different looking model. So I grabbed the Drill Master, and then this head hat combo and also this dagger arm are both from the Hunter Cadre kit, actually. And I think it came together pretty stinking well. The length of the arm is perfect. He snapped right in there. He has this imposing look where the Witch Hunter hat looking, head that he has, because it's not one piece, but they lock together perfectly. So that whole setup of the head and hat just went smoothly over the torso, and he looks phenomenal. And with that, I have painted my 800 points. Ignore the 20 points. I can't account for the free officer that I get. The seasoned veteran, that's what he's called. But he's got some cool stuff going on. I love this list. Well, we'll talk about the gameplay here in a second. As far as what's going on in the future, one of the things I would love to look at doing is painting up the rest of the Hunter Cadre kit, which is longbowmen, and having those be another just option for me. They have slightly different rules. They function a lot like crossbowmen, but they have some other side things that they can do. So it'd be nice for a little bit of variety. But also I do have one more knight and a noble lord on steed from the core 2-player set. So I might as well paint those up. At this point, that would pretty much account for the 400 points when you think about adding in another knight and another hero. That dramatically changes the way the list works. There's some really cool things to be done about that. I think if I was going full cavalry, which I'm not right now, I might eventually add the mounted squires. I think they're a really cool looking model as well, but I might do that in the future. Well, I really don't have any plans to expand the 100 kingdoms outside of first, because my love for Conquest, the full army game, is Dweghome. I've just really been enjoying painting the Dweghome a lot more lately. Once I kind of really nailed down a scheme, they became a lot more fun, and that scheme started with specifically the Tempered Sorcerer and Fireforged. I don't know, I mean, I always have trouble remembering Fire. But regardless, we're doing good on far as the painting progress goes, so that is going to be basically my next 400 points, right? You have the Lord, the remaining Knight, the rest of the Bowmen, and that'll pretty much be around there, because heroes don't have a points cost associated with them. I guess I also have some men-at-arms from the remainders of those other units I could fill out a bit, and I'll just do that up until I get 400 points. As far as when I'm going to do that third video, I'm gonna look at doing it on, let's see, the 9th. So that's gonna be November 9th, just a week, little over a week away. The reason for that being I kind of fell super behind on this other one, and there's other projects I want to do, specifically a slow grow league with my Dweghome, and that one is focused on Conquest, the full army game. So if you're interested in that, please let me know. But with that said, let's head over and take a look at a battle report. Again, this is going to be just another quickie where I just talk about some various pictures that I have, pull them on screen, go through them together, and just chat about the game because I enjoy it. So up on screen, we have the Spire's army. Played by Rob, but painted for his wife Tara, who are both a wonderful couple in my neck of the woods. Now you can see we have one unit of 3 brute drones in the back. There are 3 separate units of, what are they, the drones, force-grown drones, the little shield guys. There's one here, I believe these two. No, there's 3 here. Okay, so one of these is a 4-man group, the other one's an 8-man, and then this little dude over here was attached to the 3rd group, and he is an officer that is very interesting. We'll talk about what he does in a little bit. And then of course he's led by a Ferromancer with a retinue of 3 little dudes with him. Here was our table using terrain courtesy of Tempest Games over in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And I tried to do something just kind of using a little bit of height and elevation. I'm the only one who has guns, and I just have crossbowmen and hunter cadre, which is not a ton of shots, but I don't know. I wanted something with a little bit of verticality, and the way that our objectives laid, I don't know why. Oh yeah, here we go. Here's a picture with the objectives. It's also our deployment, so we'll just go from here. Objectives, we played, let me get the name of that mission here. Shield Wall, here we go. Got one objective in the dead center. The other 2 are in the kind of offside, within the feet, I guess, the dead center. So 6 inches from the board edge. There's a 3-inch, zone of control around them in every direction. And basically, it's you get 2 points if you control one objective. You get another 2 if you have more than your opponent, and you get another 2 victory points for every character that kill. So pretty straightforward. Here you can see our deployment zones, and we have drones over here on my left, and here are 1, 2, 3 units of the force-grown drones with the Ferromancer in the dead center. He's really good about raising those units, and so I knew my only goal was I have to fully kill a force-grown drone unit in a round, or I have to at least swing so hard at 2 of them that I can guarantee the following round I can kill something outright, which is a huge pain in the butt. We got a few army shots here of Rob's painting work, and I absolutely think he's doing a wonderful job. They actually have a cool thing where the forced grown drones in that lowest cast are all going to have green accent stuff, whereas the characters are going to have purples, and basically use that as sort of a caste system signifier, which I thought was a really neat touch. Going from, I believe, right to left on my side, I decided to throw one of the knights and the hunter cadre. On the right side in the center, I have my 6-man men-at-arms with here's the officer going with them, a single knight, a 4-man group of men-at-arms, which I kind of use as sort of a sacrificial pawn. Those are the red shirts. They go up there and die so that the next rank can actually get into combat. And then I have crossbowmen behind them, and then my noble lord with 2 bodyguards. After the end of round 1, which is mostly positioning, this is how the table looked. So my knight and the hunter cadre went to the far right one. We got that easy peasy. I wasn't super worried about them getting killed by drones, but you know, I also don't want them to get bogged down too much with them. A unit that I forgot to mention because it kind of blended in, which is kind of his whole deal. This right here, Mimetic Assassin. That is something that the Spire's list brought that I have no real answer for, and this thing is nasty. We'll get to it. Up front, we have a 6-man force-grown drone unit, and this one on the left is the smaller one with the officer. At the end of the round, the crossbowmen, I believe, were able to plink and hurt, take away one of these drones. Pharaohmancer's just chilling, and the brutes went over. They did a move and then a charge, so they ended in combat range of the big block of men-at-arms, but weren't able to actually swing, because charges don't give you a free attack action, they give you a free inspire, which is quite nice. I just kind of went around the table and took some glory shots of all the different combats happening, and these guys, they're looking real scared. That little tower thing in the back right up here is meant to be the objective, so these brutes, they're just so nasty. Now I decided to go backwards to this picture because there's two things I wanted to highlight. One, round one, I tried to be greedy and do a charge on these brute drones with this knight. He needed, I think, to roll a 4 up, and I was like, it seems worth a gamble, you know, rather than just having everyone just stand around. So I had him roll for it and I failed, so sad knight is sad. He just kind of moved up, I think an inch, but which is enough to deliver him the next round, but you know, whatever. Beyond that, I want you to take note of where this little guy is. This is the Spire's officer. It's called a node of some kind. He essentially is a self-destructive bomb. They jury-rigged a living drone into a chemical bomb that when it gets near an enemy will explode. The way that this pans out is he has an officer ability that allows him to detonate, and we'll talk about what that does. It is mean because as we fast forward to this round's pick, the board looks a little different. I forgot to take a picture of him moving up to do it, so I snagged this one as soon as I remembered. This is a huge picture. First of all, the Mimetic Assassin moves across back here and is able to attack one of my bodyguard guys, okay? He then gets a chance to kind of dash away. We'll talk about how he does that later on. But then the small 3-man unit moved forward and detonated because this had rolled over to my turn because I forgot to take pictures for a little bit. I do apologize. I got so wrapped up because what happened was that force-grown drone unit exploded, and he took out, he killed outright a bodyguard, put wounds on another, took out 3 of the crossbowmen back here, and I think at least one of the men-at-arms that ran forward. This thing went off, and I immediately was like, oh, that's like the game. Like, that was a kill shot. Mainly because Rob stuff can come back. The Pharaohmancer can keep restoring models, whereas I don't have that luxury. So just deleting a bodyguard for my noble lord, because that makes him a tank, and then 3 of the crossbowmen, like that's 6 shots around. That's huge. And you know, at this point I was like, oh doggy. And then there's also a Pharaohmancer ability where he can make the drones count as more on an objective, so he's pumping that into this front rank. So even though my guys, the way that I push them forward leaves me with the same amount of models as him in objective, he is still capping it in terms of scoring points. Over on the far right is the only place that things are going good for me. Hunter Cadre moved up just to fire, and then the knight went in and charged. Over on the left, our brute drones here decimated and took away 4 of the men-at-arms on the left side. So you can see why round 2 out, or maybe this is round, I guess it's probably into round 3, right? I must have missed the round 2 pictures. But already I'm like, oh, and here's our explosion shot, which I had to get because everybody's got a wound on them except for the Mimetic Assassin. We got some brutal fights going on here with those men-at-arms, and a great shot of the alleyway there. The knight just went straight at him, which, you know, for some reason this entire game I did terrible on my impact hits, because the knights have brutal impact too, which is normally a fantastic rule, except for when it doesn't do anything. So I did remember at the end of this round to snag a picture to kind of let you know how everything ended out after the detonation of the node. So what I did was I charged the Hunter Cadre in on this next round, and so they're actually, like, they're pretty good in combat, and that's one of the things I do appreciate about them is, like, they don't have a ton of attacks, but they can move in with a few meaningful shots. They only have barrage 1, but when they get there into combat, they have great rules in combat as well. So you have to use both aspects of them. They're not really a shooting unit. They're not really a melee unit. They're both. So try to use them both. They got in there and did some work. That drone unit went down to a single dude and he was in trouble. The crossbowman who was left alive, I've nicknamed him Jenkins. He decided to do a charge on the mimetic assassin but not attack because as soon as I moved him in, Rob was like, wait a minute, I think I have a thing. And he went over like the rules for like counter attack. I'm like, I'm not risking a single thing, man. So I just had him charge and then, I don't know, wait or whatever. I just had him just run out the clock. So he's stuck in combat now, which is nice. I wanted something to pin the mimetic assassin. Like you have to stop some point. The noble lord was at free at this point, and so now my goal going into the next round was I either need to kill the assassin or I need to go on an assassination run of my own towards the Pharaohmancer. The battle on the left side was just going from bad to worse. I lost another men-at-arms, so it's just the officer and a dude with him. The knight was never touched, but he also really wasn't doing a lot, which is kind of sad. Like I said, my impact hits were just sad this game. This is the end of the next round. The mimetic assassin came, surprisingly, killed off the crossbowman and moved in to pin down my lord, so I wouldn't be able to do a whole lot. They did have a bit of a fight. I put wounds on him, he put wounds on me. It's the best thing that you can hope for when a hero and his assassin go at each other. I won't spoil how it ends quite yet, but the knight over here went first, and so he was able to kill that last drone, which then freed up the hunter cadre from combat. So they did a move and a charge to make it into the action here with the Pharaohmancer. Now, I knew they weren't going to be able to attack afterwards, but I wanted to start applying pressure. I mean, that's the ultimate place to apply pressure, right? When you're talking about a list, because if you keep looking at the various list, I didn't really go into how much healing he did. He kept restoring models consistently to this front right here. As you can see, it's still at 6. I killed a bunch of force-grown drones. So the men-at-arms did not go gentle. It's just Rob kept adding more models back to the table. The men-at-arms unit on the left is completely gone, officer and all. He did his best, but by golly, it was a lot of beef. And at this point, it became clear I will uncontestedly control this right side here. Rob will definitely control the left, and the middle, unless something happens, is going to go to Rob. And so we started playing it out. We had an awesome duel with these two characters, the assassin and the noble lord. I wanted to get a good picture of them side by side. The knight that was over here, we did the math on what it takes to go over. We had already discussed this when it came to his assassin moving over the terrain. Knight did a long bomb charge, came over here, and able to crush a ton. It was like the most fire roll I had put out the entire game. Was able to crush that guy, and at this point now that the men-at-arms are gone, the two brutes are focusing on that knight, which is real bad for me because the noble lord is all out here by his lonesome. He had to use his turn killing off the assassin, which he did. And the hunter cadre, their rolls just were not nearly as hot when it came to the Pharaohmancer's unit. Keep in mind, the bodyguards and stuff have like tenacious, so they're absorbing wounds just for existing. So they didn't do terrible, I guess mathematically. It was just not the kind of pressure I was hoping for. And ultimately, the two brute drones made it into combat with my noble lord, who happened to be looking the very wrong direction. And with that, they were able to kill him. Now, he had to be in there for a round, so like you can see, we chipped away at more units. We kept going a little bit, but that was basically it. This is game end. Now, the reason the game ended specifically when my noble lord died was not because First Blood has an assassination thing like War Machine used to do. Instead, the way that the mission works, which is, shield wall here. So you get 2 victory points for each zone you're controlling if you have more than your opponent, and you gain them for each enemy character. Well, we had gone back and forth so much that when the brute killed my leader, that took him from 16 to 18 points, so secured him the game. However, I will say, we loved this game because I was at 16 points. We were tied at 16 going into, I think, round 8, if I'm not mistaken. 8 or 9 was one of those, because the game ends on 10. I was keeping track, but I didn't think we would need that much time. But yeah, so like it came down to the wire. So to say, it was not anywhere near an absolute victory. We were talking through like, how could you make this happen? Like you have to do an assassination run. As of right now, everything's in Rob's favor, so it was just a matter of like, can my noble lord survive one round to be able to like, I don't know, fight back, disengage, do anything, and it just could not happen. So congrats to Rob, you won a fantastic full game of First Blood Conquest, fully painted models. That is what we were going for the entire time. I had a wonderful time. It was kind of noisy in the game store, and you know, of course with every one of these games, we're both forgetting rules here and there. I keep forgetting that Bellum doesn't print the orders for units when it comes to the PDF that comes out. Like for the main Conquest game, every single rule imaginable is there. For whatever reason, they have not put the actual orders that characters can do into the First Blood thing. So the whole time I'm like forgetting that my Noble Lord has orders I could be delivering. I never forgot the officer one because it's just +1 defense. It's very easy to remember, but the Noble Lord has options, and I wasn't thinking about them. And so that, friends, is my update for Milestone 2 of the Conquest Paint Along League. Like I said, we're going to come back here on the 9th, or at least that's when I'm going to accrue all the photos and stuff like that is on the 9th, and I'll be posting a video probably on the 10th. I can't wait to see what everyone has painted, and you know, these videos are going to stay online in perpetuity, so if you see this later and you want to paint along, just paint along with us. It'd be so much fun. Let me know your thoughts again on doing a slow grow league for the full Conquest system, because I only play Dweghome in that, and I'm going to be painting up some of those models soon as well. Let me know if you're interested in that kind of content. It helps me out. And if you're looking to expand any more or any further, I just once again want to throw it out there. I do have an affiliate link in the description below. It saves you 10%, and every single time you use it, a portion of that at no cost to you goes directly to supporting me. And Bellum is a wonderful company to work with as a content creator. They're just awesome people, so just feel confident in your purchases. I can't wait to come in back here with some other painted models, you know, a little bit more 100 Kingdoms, maybe a couple Dweghome here and there, stuff like that, and we'll get cracking. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Happy wargaming.